You're listening to the Loyalty Minute, the show that helps you build better customer loyalty and more valuable user engagement. With your host, Rob Gallo.
Welcome, loyal listeners, to another episode of the Loyalty Minute. I'm your host, Rob Gallo, and today I'm very excited to chat with Danielle Brown, the Chief Marketing Officer of Points International, which is Points.com. Danielle is at the helm of Points' marketing strategy, responsible for driving growth through data science and analytics in order to continuously improve the brand, partner, and performance marketing tactics. Welcome to the show, Danielle. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Rob.
So for those listeners out there who don't know who you are, perhaps you could share a bit about your background, where you came from, and where you're at right now.
Yeah, so Points is based out of Toronto, so I'm in Toronto right now, and also we're not traveling, so of course I'm in Toronto right now. But we also have offices in Singapore, in Dubai, in London, so we are truly global. I come from, this is my second stint at Points, so was at Points, left to do some startup stuff, came back, and previously was in subscription businesses, and also got my start in the music industry, really, so I've kind of been all over the map.
So for those that don't know what Points is and what it does, elaborate on that, because I think it's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, thanks. So we are a trusted partner to the world's leading loyalty programs. So we build technology, we power new ways for loyalty program members to get and use their favorite loyalty currency. We work with about 60 of the world's biggest airline and hotel partners. So think Southwest Airlines, United, Marriott, Qatar, Emirates, Choice, Air France, KLM. It kind of runs the gamut, but we work with them in order to help them make their currency stickier by creating products that their loyalty program members can use.
And can people exchange points from one program to the other? Does that work too?
Yeah, they can. So when we actually started, we were the customer proposition of Points.com, and we were really a B2C business. That still exists as a functionality, but we're really now a B2B business and a B2B2C business because we execute programs for all of our partners. So you can still use that Points.com functionality, but it's really not part of our core business anymore.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously the show is about loyalty, customer loyalty, brand loyalty, but it really, in my estimation, falls underneath the marketing umbrella. So you being the Chief Marketing Officer for Points International, I think it gives you good leverage on understanding how loyalty works. But before we get into the business side of it, let me ask Danielle Brown, what makes you loyal to a company? What does loyalty mean to you, Danielle?
So if I think about this, it's a couple of different things. I'm quite the consumer, and I have really emotional connections with the brands that I love and the products that I use. And so I can think of one example to kind of walk you through what it means to me would be beginning of the pandemic. It's March, and I can't go to the gym, and I need a way to get fit and stay fit. And so I decide I'm going to do yoga every day. It's going to be my thing. And then I'm going to go and do this on the Peloton app. I don't have a bike. I don't have a tread, but I'm here on my own, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to commit to doing this every morning. And I do it. And then I log on to one of their online live classes. One day it's like my 50th class, and I get on this class, and I'm doing this class live. And the instructor shouts me out for doing 50 yoga classes. And I am like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. I'm alone in my apartment. I do not feel seen. It's middle of quarantine and we're on lockdown. And I was irrationally excited about it. And I had this feeling of community. And this is this thing that Peloton does so well that I admire as a marketer and that I admire as a loyalty marketer. It's creating this emotional connection, and the vehicle by which they do it is community, and they do it so well.
Wow, that's great. And I guess the biggest benefit from a gamification or a loyalty standpoint is that you're getting yourself in good physical condition.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to be a good side benefit. Another thing that I think about when I think about valuable loyalty programs is I also love Sephora. right? And I love shopping for makeup. And I remember the first time I went into a Sephora store in New York, we didn't have them here in Canada. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, the variety, the availability of all of these things. They know me. They know what I'm looking for in makeup. I started buying from them online later. And what's really interesting to Sephora is they have always held my attention, but less so, because I find that their loyalty currency is now getting devalued. What I mean by that is their reward system, they set up this system where it's like a tiered reward system, and you buy products and you get rewarded in points. You can use those points to trade them in for products, right? Mm-hmm. But now they've got these products that are so expensive from a points perspective, and I have a ton of points, but they're always sold out. So I can never actually buy those points. And it's a ridiculously frustrating experience, right? So their currency has kind of started to lose value for me. And I'm starting to lose my loyal feelings because the promise of their loyalty program isn't delivering for me. So it's been interesting to see.
Well, let's touch on that then. What, being in the business as a CMO, what sort of things would you implement in terms of changing that you would recommend to Sephora?
Yeah, what's really interesting is they made a change that where they did a thing where they enabled you to use your points to get dollars off your purchases. Mm-hmm. What I never understood about that change for me was to say, I'm buying. It's not a commodity. So how much interest does their customer base have in getting dollars off something that they're spending as a frivolous expense anyway, right? And so I say that to say it's really important to understand and be close to what your customer wants, right? Understand what moves and motivates them. If I think about that, and your listeners may be familiar with the Jobs to Be Done framework, which is this framework by Clayton Christensen for understanding customer behavior. And the really interesting thing about this framework is it breaks down what a product needs to do in functional, social, and emotional jobs, right? Functional jobs are, I need this thing. If I think of a points.com example or a points example, I need this product to be able to allow me to buy currency. Great. A social job might be like, I want to feel cool when I upgrade my seat to business class with all my miles. An emotional job might be, I'm going to feel amazing and successful and free when I can use all these miles. And I think that what we need to do as marketers and as loyalty marketers is really understand the social and emotional jobs and market to those rather than marketing towards the function of the products or the services that we have. And that's where I think we can do a way better job of understanding our customer base.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in fact, you touched on something which I don't want to get way off into different tangents, but subconsciously people are making decisions before they make their real decision, and they kind of back it up, right? So it's an emotional decision backed up by rationality. Uh-huh. So, people buy cars, buy everything that they buy is an emotional decision. How am I going to look? How am I going to feel in that car? Do other people that are in my socioeconomic environment buy those cars? Yeah. Right. And this is what marketers, I think, at a whole tend to miss. But at a commodity level, you think about, when you were talking about Sephora, my wife will spend a lot of money on these things, but then she'll complain sometimes like, I'm never paying $9 for that. Are they crazy? But she'll pay $60 for some sort of little face makeup or something. So there's reasonings behind it and justifications for it based on the person's emotional connection to that product or service.
Yeah, and when you're marketing that product or service, I think that's where the key is. You need to think about emotionally, what is this fulfilling for this person? And I will spend more if you tap into my emotional connection.
And so at Sephora, just using it as an example, I've never been into the store, but do the associates that are on the floor, do you think they recognize that? In our previous conversation, the episode prior to this, we were talking about Home Depot. And the conversation went on to say about, you go into Home Depot, you're not really looking for a hammer and a nail. You want to hang a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
Right? So in Sephora, do you think they get that? And I'm just out of curiosity asking.
Yeah, I really do. I think they have a wonderful experiential setup in their stores where they do have makeup artists who will put things on for you, try things on for you. I've always had this really wonderful experience. And I think what they do really well is they don't treat their products as commodities, right? They treat their products as agents to make you feel good about yourself. They're not selling makeup. I don't think they are. I think they're selling a feeling, and they're selling an empowerment for you to be able to be the best you can be.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so let's turn the tables now from consumer coming into your marketing professional business. So in that field, can you share some pain points that you have when it comes to creating and maintaining customer loyalty?
Yeah. It's interesting because we do work with so many brands, and the interesting part of Points is I'll market Points as a business, but marketing Points and our products through our partner brands is really interesting. The most frustrating parts of that work, or the times where I feel like my hands are tied the most behind my back, are if we don't have enough data to be able to get our job done. And what I mean by that is, at Points, we understand the data that's running through our product. But if you think about the travel loyalty industry and you think about all of the data that's available to our hotel and airline partners, they understand things like what is a customer's balance? What have they recently redeemed for? Where have they recently flown? Where have they recently stayed? The partners who we have rich data exchange relationships with and who can share more data with us, we can get so much better in the results, right? Customers expect personalization now. I expect personalization now. If you're going to send me an offer, it better be relevant to me, right? In order to be able to cut through the clutter. And what we've been able to see at Points is when with some of our partners, we look at mass offers. Everyone gets the exact same offer. When we can get richer in data, what we can do is we can then build these robust prediction models, and we can start changing the revenue profile of each marketing campaign. There's in one instance with an airline partner, we went from mass campaigns to targeted campaigns. We actually talked to less people, but were way smarter about the offers that we were able to give them because of the data exchange. And our revenues actually increased campaign to campaign by 45%, which is absolutely significant, right? And you think of the downstream effects of that, and you think, the less relevant an offer is to you, then the more likely you are as a consumer to get disengaged in a program. So the cost of not getting that right, it costs the whole program, not just the campaign.
Yeah. So I've used this example a number of times about Foxwoods and how they do it. I'm not going to go into it now, but so CVS is an example. So CVS recognizes just by my phone number, which is to me is the greatest thing in their loyalty program, that as soon as I walk in, give them my phone number, they'll say, "Oh, you have extra bucks on your account. Do you want to use them?" Sure, right? So it's going above and beyond in that respect. But the other thing that you mentioned, and it resonated with me, is if you think about an airline and they see that this person travels 5 times a year between 2 points, and then they're going to give them an offer to fly to Arab Emirates, and they're thinking, well, why am I going to, go there, right? But the logic is that, well, they're already going here. They're going between these 2 points. Why not send them somewhere else? Why not get them involved in something else? But people are creatures of habit. And I think for the most part, if you could tell me that you can get me my discount on my 6th trip, I'm more likely to book that trip.
Right. And as a marketer, right, the hardest thing to do is to change people's behavioral patterns. Working with what you already have, right? When you're looking at segmentations to be able to say, oh, these types of people are responding to my program. These types of people are sort of responding a little bit, and these types of people aren't. Even if that's the biggest tranche, you don't go after that biggest tranche. You go after your closest next best thing because they're going to be the easiest people to move.
So can you think of a success or a failure in customer loyalty from your marketing standpoint that, the strategy in and of itself that the users would find useful?
I'm going to I'm going to take something that didn't have too much to do with us and talk to you about one of our partners, I think. And Air Canada they have their airplane loyalty program, and they've just announced a whole bunch of changes to it. And part of the reason is because Aeroplan was this separate entity, and they've brought it in house, and so that now their relationship is going to be a lot more symbiotic. But some of the interesting things that they did was they removed a whole bunch of restrictions around blackout periods on bookings. They eliminated surcharges. They put in things like family pooling. They did some interesting things around allowing stopovers, around using points for extra like Wi-Fi and upgrades. And I think they did this wonderful job of simplifying things and also allowing their currency to become more ubiquitous because it's easy to use in their ecosystem. We just launched something with them that's an ability to buy miles so you can top up your loyalty account. But what they did, and I think what people need to look at when they're looking at their loyalty programs, is simplify, simplify, simplify. And people need to see value in the currency if they're going to use it, right? And that's, I think, they did a really wonderful job at their relaunch.
Yeah, it sounds like they took a page from Southwest's model, which to me is the easiest, simplest program that you could imagine.
Yeah, and they are such wonderful partners of ours, like Southwest as well, and they get it, right? And that's a real customer first, member first loyalty program, because you're not making people jump through hoops to understand what it is that they're getting.
What about earning outside of the normal channels, but still only being able to burn those points through that mechanism? So for an example, and I think of Southwest, and I'm sure every airline has it, but they have their Rapid Rewards, and then they have a Rapid Rewards mall. So I travel on Southwest a lot between West Palm Beach and New York, going back and forth to see the rest of the family and stuff. But I can earn more miles by shopping at Walmart, Kmart, Home Depot, Best Buy, and don't need to do anything different than I normally do. Just click one button. And all those points now become reward miles. What do you think about it? I mean, does points do anything like that or no?
Yeah. So one of our, the biggest chunk of our business is loyalty currency retailing, right? So the ability to buy, to top up, to accelerate your earns. And then we also have different parts of our business where we have a points travel solution. So that's like a white label hotel booking solution where you can use your airline loyalty points to book a hotel, or you can alternately, so we take care of the burn side, but there's also an earn side as well. So that's one thing. We also have a whole bunch of platform partnerships. One example would be our Hilton and Lyft partnership. So you can ride Lyft, and you can redeem, and you can earn Hilton points. And there's a whole bunch of deals that we're talking through right now on that burn side to be able to say, okay, again, going back to the ubiquitousness of the currency, that currency becomes way more valuable when we do things like earn malls. And when we do other things like we have a whole bunch of partners who are looking to us to build products that they can get people to burn with, especially now in a pandemic, right? Because if you're buying through us and you're not maybe flying, then how are you going to use those points? So yeah, I think we have a lot of really exciting new developments coming through in products and services that you'll be able to use your miles for. And different programs are more or less advanced in that area.
Yeah, good. So let me ask you this, Danielle. In an ideal world, what does a customer loyalty and engagement strategy look like in the future compared to now? I mean, COVID aside, when things do get back to normal, futuristically, we were, again, the previous episode, you got to listen to the previous episode. He was talking about some futuristic stuff that was blowing me away. It sounded like the Matrix. But what do you see as far as, from your perspective, the future looks like in loyalty rewards and the like?
You know, you touched on it a little bit before, and it's that whole earn and burn cycle, right? So what I what we're building towards and the way we view the future of loyalty is you may think about, okay, I'm going to buy I'm going to buy an airline ticket and I'm going to earn flights on that ticket. And then I'm going to earn points on that ticket. And then I have some points in my bank and I have to get to the airport and I'm like, oh, okay, what am I going to do? I'm going to take a Lyft because I can spend my points on that Lyft. And then I get to the airport and I'm just like, let me check in at the kiosk. And then I look at the kiosk and I think, oh, I'm going to upgrade. I'm going to use my points to be able to upgrade. And then I'm waiting in the lounge and then I want to buy a coffee. And guess what? I can use my points to buy that coffee. And then I land and then I get to my hotel and then my hotel says, hey, I'm going to reward you. Here's some extra points so that you can use at the restaurant next door. And you go to that meal next door. And it becomes this like cycle where that loyalty currency becomes the driver of your everyday activity, right? Where it's almost like if you're smart about managing your loyalty currency, it's like an actual currency. You're going to have your dollars and you're going to have your loyalty points and miles. And those loyalty points and miles actually pay you back more than your actual dollars do, right?
Yeah. And just in the use of them too, obviously as you're using them, you're still earning more too, because there's a benefit for the person or the organization who is using those points as the burn, because you're likely to spend on top of that actual cash.
And imagine you're the owner of the currency. You're like the host program of the currency. What you're doing when you're getting people to see that utility in your currency is you're getting them to invest in your future, and you get stickier with them the more they invest and interact within your currency. It just becomes too much of a loss for them to stop because they've built up such a cycle and it's so ingrained in their everyday life. So I think that's one thing that travel loyalty programs are definitely moving towards. And it's really, I think we'll see some very exciting developments, and especially out of the pandemic with the innovation that programs have started to make on making their currency more usable and more ubiquitous.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, again, I could talk about this all day, and I usually do because this is what I do. But let me ask you, Danielle, what sort of actionable advice could you share with our listeners that they could implement today to help them attract and retain more customers?
What I would say is I'm going to go back to that jobs to be done conversation that we had. And what I have done in the past, and the jobs to be done framework, it's really a product design framework usually. But what I have done with my teams is have gone back into all of our products and said, define the beyond the functional jobs, the social jobs, the emotional jobs. Once you can put those together, and actually physically do the work of working out the jobs, your marketing campaigns start to change right away. And the way you view loyalty starts to change right away. And it becomes more of an emotional connection. I believe that the output, your marketing output changes right away. And so it does feel like a kind of big undertaking to review what do my products mean. But the benefits so quickly will change the way you communicate, what you communicate, and the value of your communications to your customer base.
Well, there's no question that Points International is lucky to have you on board at the CMO helm. I definitely want to thank you for your time. But first, if listeners want to get a hold of you, Danielle, what's the best way they could do that?
They can check out points.com, or they can email me directly at danielle.brown@points.com, or find me on LinkedIn. Great stuff. Well, I want to thank you again for taking some of your time to share your insights on customer loyalty and marketing. And for our loyal listeners out there, I want to thank you for investing some of your valuable time. If you feel you've received value from the show, we would appreciate a 5-star review on your favorite podcast streaming service. If you know someone else who you think might enjoy listening to the show, please do share. That's how we grow, the only way we grow. And to reference this and other Loyalty Minute episodes, please visit theloyaltyminute.com. Enjoy. Thanks, Danielle. I appreciate your time. Thanks, Rob.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for your next edition of the Loyalty Minute.